Okay, guys, what if I told you that under your feet, right here in Barcelona, there are Roman graves that are almost 2000 years old, and that just a few meters away from them there is one of the most breathtaking Gothic churches of all Spain? Today we are going on a very special walk through the heart of the old city. We are going to explore the Barri Gothic, Harbour, the seafront, and some hidden corners that most tourists simply walk past without knowing what they're missing. I'm your Ukrainian girl in Spain, and this is Barcelona. Let's go! So this is Plaza de la Vila de Madrid, and I have to be honest with you, when I first came here I did not expect what I was going to see. Right here below street level you can see a Roman burial ground, an necropolis, from the 1st and 2nd centuries AD. That means these graves are almost 2000 years old. This was actually outside the walls of the Roman city of Barcelona, because in Roman times the law required the burials happen outside the city limits. You can see the remains of actual sarcophagi, grave markers and burial structures, all perfectly preserved in the open air. It is completely free to visit. You just walk in, look down, and you are suddenly standing in front of the millennia of history. Okay, let's keep walking, because just around the corner there is something that will take your breath away. Here it is, the Basílica of Santa Maria del Pi, and I always stop for a moment right here because this facade is simply stunning. Del Pi means of the pine, and yes, there is a small pine tree right there in the square, which gives the church its name. But what will stop you in front of tracks is this rose window. It is one of the largest Gothic rose windows in the world, over 8 meters in diameter, can you imagine? And when the light hits from inside, there's something special. The church was built between the 14th and 15th centuries in the Catalan Gothic style. What I love about Catalan Gothic, as opposed to what you see in France or Germany, is the width. The single nave is incredibly wide and tall, which gives it this feeling of openness, of breathing space. The two squares surrounding the church, Plaza del Pi and Plaza de San Josef Oriol, are wonderful spots to sit, have coffee, and just be here for a moment. One of my favorite little corners of the Gothic Quarter. Highly recommend it. Alright, now we are heading to Las Ramblas. This is probably the most famous street in all Barcelona, and honestly, it deserves every bit of that fame. Las Ramblas is not just one street, it is actually 5 different sections, each with its own name, that run together as one long boulevard from Plaza Catalunya all the way down the sea, about 1.2 kilometers in total. And right now you actually can see the excavations in live mode. Every time they are repairing something in the city, they tend to find a lot of ancient artifacts and medieval structure. I should say there is something so lovely about starting a morning walk surrounded by these flower stalls and coffee shops, with the smell of coffee drifting from every corner on either side. There are a lot of antique boutiques and very atmospheric places. Right now we'll step into Plaça Reial, and every single time I walk through this archway, it is something which surprises me, because you go from the narrow dark little street and then suddenly this, a beautiful grand square bathed in light. And yeah, Salvador Dali, I found my favorite artist here. What do you think? He looks so lovely here and majestic. So Plaça Reial was built in the 19th century on the site of a former convent. The neoclassical architecture, the palm trees, the arcaded walkways full of restaurants and bars, it has every elegant, almost theatrical quality. And these lampposts, they were designed by very young Antoni Gaudí, one of his very first public commissions in Barcelona, before the Sagrada Familia, before everything. So even here, in this busy tourist square, you're standing in front of early Gaudi. Amazing, right? From Plaza Real, we continue south, and the city starts to change. The crowds thin out a little, and we arrive at Plaza del Duc de Medinaceli, a long, elegant square lined with trees, much calmer, much more local in its atmosphere. Now you will see what I'm talking about. That's really a wide space next to the seafront. Look how beautiful it looks. You know, it's one of those spots that most visitors simply pass through on their way to the port, but I think it deserves a moment. Just stand here, look at the figure. Feel the scale of it. Barcelona has this habit of putting something magnificent around every corner and then expecting you to just walk on by. Okay, and now we are going to another amazing place. We'll see the fountain of Neptú, the Neptune fountain, which is called Font de Neptú in Catalan. A really imposing monument, the god of the sea standing tall, surrounded by sea creatures and water. Given that we are just steps from the Barcelona waterfront, it feels completely right that Neptune watches over this corner of the city. Now I want to present you to the Basílica de la Mercè. So the church was rebuilt in the 18th century in the baroque style, but a religious community has been here on this spot since the 13th century. I always feel something when I walk into this church. The interior is absolutely stunning. The baroque high altar is covered in gold leaf. It is an overwhelming amount of gold in the most beautiful way. The whole space glows. In the main chapel you can see the venerated statue of Our Lady of Mercy and also Montserrat. And people come here every single day to pray before her. It is one of those places where you can feel that it's not a museum, it is living, breathing place of faith. Even if you are not religious, I think you feel the weight of it, the history, the devotion. And now the sea. One of the things that makes Barcelona so special compared to other old European cities is this. You walk out of a 2,000-year-old neighborhood, and in 5 minutes you're standing at the edge of the Mediterranean. This is Port Vell, the old port. Vell means old in Catalan, and this area was the commercial heart of medieval Barcelona, where ships arrived from across the Mediterranean, bringing goods, people, and ideas. Now I just want to enjoy the morning atmosphere, this calmness, this small amount of people, only just a couple of them running around, no tourists, nothing, just quietness and sun rays and seagulls sitting in the sky. Anyway, I love walking here in the early morning or the early evening when the light on the water is golden and the city noise drops a little. There is something very peaceful about it. You feel the scale of the city, all those centuries of history behind you, and then just the open sea ahead and these boats peacefully swinging on the water. Yeah, time has come to have some snack, just to recharge the batteries and to keep on going and showing you the city. Friends, share in the comments below which place in Barcelona you like most of all, your favorite spots. And it would be interesting for me to read all this information and to see what else you would like to see in my video. Right now we are walking from Port Vell north into Harbour neighborhood. The transition is very clear to see from the harbour into narrow streets, arriving very soon at the very ancient part of Barcelona. And I want to show you one very, very special building, one of the most perfect pieces of Gothic architecture in all Europe. So keep on watching, soon you'll see this. Meanwhile, enjoy the atmosphere, this unique vibes of the old town. By the way, I just wanted to mention that in Barcelona you can see a lot of street art on the walls, graffitis, and there are plenty amount of them in the old parts of the cities. If you're interested in seeing more of them, just let me know and I will make a special separate video on that topic. As I've already mentioned, we are now in Elborn, and I want to take a moment before we go inside because I think this building is actually one of the most perfect pieces of Gothic architecture in all Europe. And yeah, another street art mural. And yes, this is Basílica de Santa Maria del Mar, Saint Mary of the Sea. And it is different from most Gothic churches because it was not built by royalty or the church. It was built by the people of the Ribera neighborhood, the merchants, the sailors, the fishermen who worked the docks of Barcelona. They carried the stones from the quarry at Montjuic on their own backs. Can you imagine? And well, unfortunately, I couldn't go inside today, but right now you can already understand why it's perfect. Look at those columns, so slender, so elegant, and yet they support this enormous vault above you. The architects Berenguer de Montagut and Ramon Despuig completed the entire church in just 54 years. This is extraordinary for a Gothic building of this scale. I highly recommend you to visit it. Well, local embutidos. All in all, what I feel in here is lightness in all the area, pure stone lightness. If Santa Maria del Pi is wide and powerful, this one is tall and graceful. They're like two different personalities, and I love both of them equally. They're amazing. From Santa Maria del Mar, we step into Carrer de Montcada, and suddenly we are in the Middle Ages. This is one of the oldest and best preserved medieval streets in all Barcelona. In the 14th and 15th centuries, this was the street of the most powerful and wealthy families of the city, merchants, nobles and bankers. They built their palaces here, one after another, and many of them still stand. Today, several of these palaces have been converted into museums. The most famous is the Museum of Picasso, one of the most visited museums in Spain, which occupies 5 medieval palaces connected from the inside. It holds an extraordinary collection of Pablo Picasso's early work, including this famous series based on the Las Meninas. Even if you do not go inside, I encourage you to go, just walk slowly down the street, look at every doorway, look at the medieval country yards through the archways, look up the narrow strip of the sky between the buildings. Carrer de Montcada is a place that rewards slowness. Well, since we are in the season of Easter celebrations, you can see the local produce, these beautiful, cute, small shops. Right now I'm heading towards the Arc of Triomf area and the Superior Court of Justice of Catalunya building, but meanwhile I want to show you a little bit of a hidden gem, and I love it for exactly that reason. Right nearby, on Carrer de Commerce, you will find the Claustre del Convent de Sant Agustí, the cloister of the old Augustinian convent. The Gothic cloister dates back to the 15th century, and today it functions as a cultural center and community space for the neighborhood. What I love about this place is that it has not been turned into a museum or a tourist attraction. It is still alive, used by the local community for events, markets and art exhibitions. And now again another example of the excavations in situ where they just found the ancient remains. Now we are walking up one of the most beautiful promenades in Barcelona towards something truly spectacular. This is the Passeig de Lluís Companys, a wide tree-lined boulevard flanked by lampposts, and at the very end of it, the Arc de Triomf. The arch was built in 1888 and also for the Universal Exhibition, and it served as the main entrance gate to the exhibition grounds. And just nearby this impressive building, this is the Palau de Justícia, the Superior Court of Justice of Catalonia. It was built between 1887 and 1908 in a style that blends neo-Gothic and mudéjar elements. And this is where our walk comes to its end, right here at the Arc of Triumph, where the release train station will take you and me wherever you need to go next. But let me just say, we have covered so much ground today, guys, so many different places. Barcelona is a city that rewards those who walk slowly, who stop, who looks up, who goes inside. I hope that today I showed you a little of what that feels like through my Ukrainian eyes, living my life to its fullest here in Spain. If you enjoyed this walk with me, please give this video a thumbs up. It really does help the channel so much, and if you are new here, welcome, subscribe and join me, because there is so much more of Catalonia, Andorra and Spain and France left to explore together. See you on the next adventure. Okay guys, let's go. Till next week. Bye bye.